everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be doing kind of a brand focused video on the brand Lawless. This is a brand sold in Sephora. They claim to be a very sensitive skin friendly brand that uses clean and safe ingredients. I think they're very well known for their lip products, like their Forget the Filler glosses that have that kind of stretch when you take them out of the tube. I've compared that to a cheese pull before. But just some really high quality products. You've heard me on my channel. Something I will always try from this brand is when they put out an eyeshadow palette ahead of the holidays. They typically call it Dreamy Dozen the last couple of years, or just recently they called theirs Dreamy Daisy. They do some super buttery, beautiful talc-free eyeshadows. And I realized I actually have quite a bit of the different things sold by this brand. So I thought, let's just work it in and really talk about it. Because one new thing that I received here lately is their Forget the Filler foundation. They sent this my way. I had been meaning to try this, wanting to try this. They said they've actually expanded their shade range a little bit, and that's why I think it got sent out to me more recently. But I have the shade 2F. They say it's a skin plumping line smoothing foundation, and in my short span of time just experimenting with this lately, it wears really, really well. Stays looking really fresh on my skin. So I'm excited to put that on today and show you how that works. Also, I noticed on Sephora they do have just this one little eyeshadow palette. It's literally called The One, that is not limited edition, that they have all the time, and so I thought we could use that. I've got blush, of course, lip products, so I think this is going to be a fun video. So this foundation, beautiful bottle there. We're going to take the top off. Ooh, I forgot one thing I was going to do before I got started is prep my lips, because they make a wonderful overnight lip sleeping mask, or they call it a lip plumping mask. I have it here in the shade Sweet Daisy. It's not ever really a color thing. They do just have some different scents and stuff, but there's a really nice richness to this product. I think it does do a little bit of plumping action. As I've said before, I like using some of these lip sleeping mask type products actually as a prep step in my makeup look. I've got Laneige ones, I've got this. You can feel like that little bit of a tingle, but my lips will be feeling really good by the time the lip steps of this video roll around. But anyway, back to this foundation. I'm going to use a full pump and just a tiny bit more. It's a very liquidy foundation. As soon as you pump it out, it kind of feels like it wants to run right off your finger. So actually more thinness than I was expecting with this the first time I used it. I was a little surprised, but I'm gonna dot that all around, and then I will use the brush that they sent to me as well. It's the brush designed for this foundation. It just says foundation brush. To me, it looks kind of like the larger end of the e.l.f. Duo complexion brush. And it's a really similar density level too, I think. But there's a little bit of more movement to the bristles than maybe I'm typically used to, but it does do a great job blending everything in, so I can't really pick it apart too much. We're just gonna get this kind of buffed in. I feel like I tend to do more of a buffing motion lower on my face and more patting when we're getting around the under eye area and other areas where I need the most coverage. It doesn't set up on the skin too fast, but it really is easy to blend. And like I said, I think the thinness of the foundation is helpful with that. But let me know if you guys have tried this. This is a foundation that has been on the market for a while now. Got some crazy hair going on back there. So there's a chance maybe you've used this as well. But I just feel like it has really phenomenal staying power, just in terms of like looking like it did when I first put it on. You know, I love that. And I am a normal to dry skin type. I can get a little oily in my T-zone, especially around my nose. But look at that all blended in. I feel like I'm getting a strong medium coverage out of this one. I feel like as I continue to use this, I'm going to be experimenting on amounts. I went just over a full pump, and I feel like I'm approaching full coverage. And if I went maybe even just a tiny bit more, I'd probably be at full coverage. But on the back it says plumping, smoothing, nourishing. And in the description on this product, they actually call it weightless, full coverage, non-acnegenic foundation. It feels like a second skin and reduces the look of fine lines and improves skin elasticity over time. So in a nutshell, I think that's kind of what they mean when they say plumping on the back of it. And then I also do have the Lawless concealer. It's called Conceal the Deal. If you look it up on Sephora, it's called a lightweight concealer. It also says on here full coverage concealer. I believe I'm in the shade Linen on this one. So we've got a little classic kind of flat doe foot applicator here. I'm gonna dab this on. It does feel super thin. If you're comparing this to like Maybelline's latest concealer, the Lifter concealer, like that one goes on and it almost feels a little bit like moussey, just slightly as it crosses your skin. But this, we're thinking of a very thin and light texture. And I'm going to begin blending that out with a smaller brush. I'm not really blending, but I'm spreading. Okay, so I'm using this little brush from e.l.f. It's called the Tap and Blend Concealer Brush. And, you know, as I've been experimenting with the foundation, I have been using this concealer alongside it. And I must say, you know, when I look at the freshness of the makeup, I am looking not just all over my face, but also up on the under eye, the areas where the concealer has been used, and it's been really good. As you can see, this shade is kind of like brightening on me. I could have gone for more of a skin tone match, but I like just being a little step brighter. And I'm taking that same foundation brush and I'm only doing a pressing motion with it. So I can really preserve the coverage, make the most of the coverage the concealer wants to give me. Still got a little bit going on here in the inner corner. Coverage seems really good. Even for as thin as it is, I do feel like I'm getting, if not full coverage, extremely close to full coverage with it. It's taking care of the problem areas, whether it be under eye darkness, redness, a little zit here or there. So I would have to say these two work pretty well hand in hand with one another. Now, as far as powder goes, what they have in this line is called a Perfecting Powder Talc-Free Skin Smoothing Powder. Oh, they say it's now also available in 3 brightening shades, which would probably be really ideal up on the under eye area, but what I have is just the shade Light. They say it's a talc-free, ultra lightweight powder, smooths, blurs, and perfects for a soft matte skin-like finish. So as far as, you know, the shade I have here, what I'm working with, it also does come with a sponge on the underside if you wanted to use that. I've had mine on hand for quite some time. Like, I've owned the concealer longer and this stuff, and then this is kind of the new factor for me. But what I think I'll do is actually just set my under eye with a loose powder that I want to use. It doesn't appear that Lawless currently makes a loose powder. That would be nice to see from their brand. But in the spirit of staying talc-free, let's use our Laura Mercier Ultra Blur loose powder, which is talc-free. Because, you know, we don't want to dull things down. We've gone to the effort of using like a brightening concealer there. We don't want to dull it down with a powder that's basically skin tone. I'm gonna be a little bit brighter than that. So this is the translucent shade here. And have you noticed I've switched to my Valentine's decor in the background? I basically just kept up the lighted garland, but I topped it with this cute like Valentine's stuff that I think I had up last year as well. Stuff, what do you call it? Like, it's like a tinsel type of garland. So much cute Valentine's stuff at Dollar Tree, by the way. If you're needing some cute decor just to put on doors and different things, it's so cute. I love seasonal decor throughout my house, but I've really in the last year or so gotten into decorating like the upstairs hallway, the kids' rooms, putting something on each of their doors, decorating the bathroom up here, just making it fun for every season. I tell you, once the powder goes on, it's like all without a doubt full coverage vibes. You know, you just get a little more mattified with that step and also more confident in the staying power of your look. Then I would say I'd go to this powder and just use this all over my face to help set a bit more. You don't need a lot of it. I don't feel like this foundation leaves me incredibly dewy. But as I've said in past videos, sometimes that comes back to the primer you used. And I didn't use any particular primer today. But when you're working in those like jelly primers and really rich, juicy, hydrating primers, you can still feel very tacky even once the foundation is on. So I'm taking some of this, again, shade Light, kind of branding itself as an all-purpose type of powder, I think, because if you got one of their brightening shades, you'd probably feel like using it on the under eye. But I'm just going to take it all over the set. I do feel like I'm adding a little bit of coverage with this too. Like if you swatch the powder, I think it's behaving closer to powder foundation than just classic pressed powder. I should throw this in more just as I'm setting all over the face though, because I like when the powder adds a little something extra. Now I see that they do have a really pretty looking bronzer in this line. It's the Summer Skin Talc-Free Velvet Matte Bronzer. I don't own that, so I'm just gonna fill in the blanks with a bronzer I have here from Too Faced. It's their Chocolate Soleil Natural Chocolate. It has just a little satin finish. Oh, I should say that Lawless does have a moisturizer that they kind of market as a primer too. It's their Forget the Filler Skin Plumping Line Smoothing Moisturizer Plus Makeup Primer. I've used that. It's a nice moisturizing product. I just never really think of it like being a primer. But I'll just throw this on real quick. but that's a product I've had on hand for a while. I haven't used it real recently. If I do use it, it is among my morning skincare types of things, but I've just, for the past couple years, been so diehard on my Vanny Cream moisturizer in the mornings. Just using their daily facial moisturizer. Okay, I'm building my bronze a little bit up here by the hairline. For blushes, Lawless has a great line of some cream blushes. They're called Pinch My Cheeks Soft Blur Cream Blush. They have everywhere from some more intense, like brighter reddish and pinky shades to a couple of more earthy shades, one of those being the shade called Rosebud. There's one called Angel as well that's like even softer than this. I enjoy these very much. They're super pigmented. They don't leave your skin feeling real tacky after application, and they're very easy to blend. I would dip straight into it with like a Sephora 56 brush and then just start pressing it into my skin. You feel like you have a lot of control with it, not like it's going to completely overwhelm you, but like I said, there are some brighter shades where you'd probably go a little more light-handed with the application, but I feel like this one called Rosebud is just very versatile, always going to look good, always going to be enough, but makes for a nice, easy, quick application. And I wouldn't say there's any shimmer in these. Basically feeling like pure color. In comparison to, say, a Tower 28 blush, cream blush, they're less juicy than that. And you can probably tell, like, as this goes on the skin, I just used a cream blush, but I'm not looking the least bit as though a really juicy, creamy, tacky texture has gone on there. Beautiful. Love the finish, and I love how it's not taking anything away from that look that really amounts to full coverage on my face right now. Alrighty friends, I just did my brows and I put on Milani eyeshadow primer, and this is the eye palette that we're working with. It's called The One. Like I said, they've had some different limited edition, absolutely fabulous palettes around the holidays for the last 3 years. Dreamy Dozen, Dreamy Dozen 2, Dreamy Daisy. The textures in these palettes have been phenomenal, great to work with, and now I've got this one, which I've had on hand for a while and honestly have not used with much frequency. So this video kind of prompts me to get back into it. But talc-free, they say travel-friendly mini eyeshadow palette with 8 classic shades. So basically all mattes with a couple of shimmers right here. One's a little more golden and one's a bit more bronzy. But we're going to create the look with this. Like I said, I've already got my primer on. I'm going to go into this kind of rosy tan, and I'm going to use that to build up some color in my crease. I find myself kind of comparing this to the experience I have using those limited edition ones that they make, and it feels really similar in terms of the formula. I expect kind of a soft, easy, blendable, pigmented matte, and that's what I'm getting. I'm just kind of blending it up as high as it will go. Now I'd say we deepen that up a little bit. Let's take some of this warmer, kind of terracotta looking shade. Ooh, I think I might have gotten a lot on my brush. I'm gonna dab this in the outer corner. It's giving more warmth, but also more depth as well. I'm going to dust off the excess and blend. Blend out the edge a little bit. And then I think I'll take some of the dark brown right up here, dark cool brown. We have a little mirror here, which is nice, and I'll pat this in my outer corner. It comes off as a really deep brown. Like, that's nice and intense for a brown. How many of you have this palette or even knew about this? Because it's just not something that I feel gets plugged a lot. From this brand in general, I feel like it's the lip products that get the most hype. There used to be a great mascara too. I think that was called The One. It was really good about like kind of laying the product on your lashes and really building something big. But they don't have that on Sephora anymore. Okay, I've gotten that into my outer corner and now I'm wanting to build on it more, so I'm going in with my small pointed brush and just really getting to the depths of that outer crease area. That's what I love about this brush, is that it really takes me into the crease. And if you wanted to make it even darker, you know, you could hit up that black. A little shimmer there from where I probably like overlapped some brush usage from a shimmer shade to the black. But it's a really pure black, and I'm keeping it light on my brush as I add that to my outer corner. Just really gently. Loving it. Super soft blended looks. Like, that's something I loved so much about their Dreamy Dozen palettes, is how easily one shade can just merge into the next, and that's just quality shadow there. I'm going to take some of this bronze shimmer, and this is my Morphe M302, so the slightly smaller flat brush. I'll just apply that all over my remaining lid space. It's just a smooth shimmer. There's nothing flaky in it. I don't want too much going over there to overlap the rest, but just a little overlap. And if you really want to brighten things up, you can go to that white. And white, whether it's matte or shimmer, can always brighten an inner corner. Sometimes we don't think about using a matte shade in there, but it can work well. Last way I might use this is to just take like one of our little browns. We didn't use this one, but I'll go into that and use it down on my lower lash line for smudging. But I would say this is very complete as far as an 8-shade palette goes. When they're throwing in dark brown and black, you can take this as intense as you want it to be. Couple of shimmers, I'm fine with that. I love a majority matte palette, really. Okay, so I'm going to finish off my eye look and I'll be right back. I just finished my look with my Too Faced Ribbon Wrapped Tubing Mascara, which I think I thought I was going to be running out of this sooner than I am. I used it today and I'm like, it still feels super creamy, like there's a lot left in the tube. I don't know, but I got that on top and bottom. It's a tubing mascara, so it's not going to smudge. And then as far as lip products go, we're talking about not only that lip mask that I mentioned earlier, but 4 key things in this line. They've got lip liner, lipstick, a like lip plumping balm, and then their Forget the Filler glosses. So as far as those balms go, I have really enjoyed these, especially this shade called Amaretto. You twist them up, they've got a tube hugging that balm all the way up, which is always good to see because with softer, more juicy lip products, they need that support right up to the stick so it's not going to shift in the tube. But I've always felt like there's a nice richness with these. They're super hydrating. This one has that nice, like, kind of gentle brownish look, which I love. But you feel like there's a real barrier between your lips and the world when you put this stuff on because there is just a nice level of thickness. I've made that comment about these lifter glazes from Maybelline, and it's sort of a similar thing. Like, you put this on and you feel like, okay, a layer of something has really set down there on my lips. So I've taken that off so I can move on and tell you about some more stuff. They're line smoothing lipsticks. They're actually called Forget the Filler Plumping Line Smoothing Satin Cream Lipstick, and I've got the shade Soft Truffle here, but I feel like what this brand majors in, they do a really good range of nudes. So nude lipsticks, nude glosses. If you're trying to find your perfect nude, it might be a brand to kind of lean into, but I'm gonna pop this on. I have loved these lipsticks so much. I think they feel rich. They do feel like they're laying down some hydration. This Soft Truffle shade is like nude, but a hint of pink in it. And when you put it on, you feel kind of that gentle cooling sensation. You feel it with the glosses as well. That's the plumping action. Also, luxurious packaging with a magnetic snap there. Love that. As far as the liners go, this would be the part of their lip range that feels maybe the least essential if you want to look at it that way. I feel like there's something really special going on with those balms and the lipstick. They've got that nice soothing, kind of buxom-ish feel. But lip liners, you know, there's so many good drugstore lip liners. I am popping this one on from Lawless in the shade Cinnamon. So I think it adds a nice little bit of depth to their various nude colors. You know, I like to do that. I rarely leave it super nude, but I've left some lightness there in the middle. But I think what's probably the most popular item in the brand is their Forget the Filler glosses. So these are really thick, very shiny, moisturizing, yet they have that kind of plumping feel to them. And a couple of my favorite shades, I would say my top most used is this one called Strawberry Shortcake. They had released, I think hopefully it's still being sold. Okay, yeah, it is. They put out like a few different strawberry themed ones, and it seemed like the type of thing that might be limited edition, but I think it's hanging around. But there's a pull with the gloss. Okay, that gives you a sense of the thickness of the gloss. I did a whole TikTok where I compared this to a mozzarella stick. There's a little scoop to the applicator there. Can you tell that? See how it kind of scoops in, holds a good amount of product. So it's designed to deposit, I think, a good amount of gloss on your lips. And that thickness of gloss really takes away the look of lines. And then it's also, I think, doing its own sort of gentle plumping action. Does not feel painful. Again, it's more of a cooling feel, closer to Buxom's feel. But I like this one called Strawberry Shortcake because I think it is just the perfect, like, nudie pink gloss. And it can lay down with some opaque color. Like if you just look at this as is, see that? It's not going on sheer. And then the other one that I like a lot and have used probably maybe second most is the one called Nudie. And this is actually really close to that color. I feel like it's got, actually seeing them in person, Nudie has just maybe a bit more brown and a little less of the soft pink in it. But if you're not a gloss person, if you don't like the feeling of a thick, rich, like layer of gloss on you, you might not be into these. To me, they are a real lip gloss lover's gloss. I'm gonna put the strawberry shortcake on top of this look. Again, that little scoop is holding product, but I still make an effort to get it on somewhat lighter because you don't need to overdo it. When I'm topping off my look, out to the edges, look at that shine. Oh, and the smell on the strawberry ones really is so good. Totally like a strawberry ice cream type of smell. But I feel like I got a really classic Lawless type of lip today. You know, we layered the lipstick, the liner, the gloss. You're gonna feel that little tingle that I think is more soothing feeling, honestly, than anything painful. It's not a hot, stingy, burny type of thing. But the thickness of the glosses, that's kind of their unique trait. They're very thick and rich. So when that goes on, whether or not it's physically changing your lips, it's going to make your lips look fuller and plumper because a thick layer just totally took out any lines that could be possibly visible in your lips, and it makes it look like one solid perfected finish, you know what I mean? So guys, that is my take on Lawless today. I was just really inspired to dig back into the brand a little deeper after getting their foundation that again is in an expanded shade range. This impresses me a lot, I will say. Like the staying power, the consistency of wear with this and the concealer applied. Using these two with the amount I've been using puts me right at the verge of full coverage. And then by the time I throw my powder on, I'm feeling totally full coverage for sure. But like I said, you can kind of play with amounts. Certain concealers you can get away with using a little more of, certain foundations, it's the same. Like with as thin as the foundation goes on, that's impressive too. But I could maybe use a little bit more of it if I wanted to build up a fuller coverage look. But I'm super satisfied with the way that came together. I'm kind of left wanting to try their bronzer because I feel like it would be good. But yeah, this impresses me. Anytime Lawless is coming out with some eyeshadows, I think that's a real high point of the brand and something you want to look into. This little palette in itself, though, if they're just gonna kind of have one always hanging around in their line, this is very good. Gosh, I really enjoy the cream blush. I would say there's just so many cream blushes out there. It's maybe harder for that product to stand out in my mind, but it is really good. But finally, when we're thinking Lawless lip products, I love the lipsticks. Really like the glosses as well, and these balms too. Like they're doing a great job really with everything. I just think that these are the more unique formulas, whereas a lip liner, you can usually come up with a good lip liner for just a couple bucks. Just saying. But thank you guys so much for your time today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your take on this brand or your favorites if you've used a lot of it, and I'll see you again soon. I love you. Bye.